What up, guys? My homies and harlots. Fucking doing another Donut's review, and I'm finally going to do the God of War Ragnarok review. I've had a lot of thoughts on this one, a lot of reflection of how to best explain it. And, you know, this game, I try to, I guess one of my sayings and one of the things I believe truly is that, you know, of course we live in a world where almost every game has value. You know, any game nowadays typically has playback value. It's not like fucking back in like 2005 when, you know, 90% of games were shit, and the one time a game did something right, like God of War originally back in the day, you know, breaking them all with its groundbreaking, you know, graphics and gameplay style. Now typically games get more right than wrong, and my review really isn't to say, you know, should you or shouldn't you buy it. Typically it's worth playing. It's, you know, like, should you wait for it to be $1 or should you wait for buy, you know, full price? And there's not typically many games I say that you should buy full price, but this review will actually be a review of, you know, is God of War Ragnarok not worth playing, but is it worth playing now, immediately? Should you get your hands on it now, pay full price for it, or should you wait and, you know, wait for it to be like $20 or something? And, you know, it's quite simple. I'd say starting off, it's this game, you know, if you've heard anyone talk about it at all, is a fucking review, a critic review sanctuary. You know, people fucking love it. Like, that's, what else can we say? You know, fucking this game is loved by all. It's got great reviews. It's doing fantastic. Which doesn't mean it doesn't have its number of flaws. I definitely have, you know, some nitpicking I'm going to do in regards to it. But, you know, it is definitely a game that people love, and people don't have a lot of negatives. Also, spoilers, I guess, a little bit. As you can see, I'm playing as Atreus. That's not fucking, you know, I mean, it's not, I guess, you know, it's not a widely known thing, but it's not a secret either. I was going to explain in my review anyways, so regardless, if you were going to hear a review of the game, you would have heard about playing as Atreus, so that's just what it is. So, I'm going to start off explaining the negatives, or what I guess I would perceive as the negatives, and go into like what the game obviously does right, but which kind of connect with the negatives. First off, the best way I can really explain this game, you know, in my eyes, and kind of the part that is the negative or positive, is when you think about the original God of War that came out in 2018, it was obviously a great game, but you could tell it was having an identity crisis of sorts from the original God of Wars. The original God of Wars were, you know, hack and slash, button smashing, sort of, very simple-minded. You know, basically God of War created the fucking, what's it called, like the button prompting fucking way of life, where fucking, where, you know, where like a big square pops up and fucking, and then that causes you to you know, to do like fucking attacks, and big climactic battles were basically made, you know, by God of War. Like, the God of War is the one that started it, you know. Fun fact, if you didn't know that, God of War is basically the game that fucking started the button prompting way of life. You know, so not to say that that's bad, but, you know, that became a cliche that a lot of game gets harped on for that kind of being a shitty way, you know, for a game to do things. Just, you know, yeah, it was cool when it first came out, but then every game started to do it, you know, as it goes with things like that. And so God of War, you know, the original first three were known for that, you know. Yeah, the graphics were good, but it was far, far, far away camera with, you know, those very simple kind of combat systems, you know, with a very short, eatable, you know, 5 to 10 hour story mode. And then 2018 obviously remade the classic, and they went a new way. But you could tell that they were still, like I said, having the identity crisis of unsure of trying to be something new, and if it's, the risk of it, and if it was worth it. And the best way I can kind of explain it is kind of like Last of Us. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of comparisons between God of War 2018 and Last of Us, right? Fucking fatherly figure type person and the kid and the adventure, and you play as both of them, through a journey. So why wouldn't you compare it? But and that kind of goes into God of War 2, Ragnarok, as well. Only I feel like everything that Last of Us 2 kind of got wrong, or people criticized about, God of War did right. And that's the positive. Obviously, Last of Us 2, it's much longer than any other, than the first one. The first Last of Us was like 14 hours. The Last of Us 2 was like 22 hours. Now, how did they explain that extra 8-hour games is what everyone was wondering when fucking it first came out. Like, oh, how are they going to add, 8 hours more of gameplay to it? Well, the answer was add a second character that no one should sympathize with, and I don't know, try to make her sympathize and show her part of the story. And I necessarily wish they'd spread it out a different way, but that's how they made the game longer. You basically had a whole second side story where you played a completely different person. Well, that's exactly what God of War Ragnarok does. They have decided to push you into Atreus instead of playing solely as Kratos the whole time. And so now you, for periods, switch from playing Kratos and then switch back into playing as Atreus. And I'll get to that in a second, but again, talking about the negatives of the game. Like I said, they're very small, so I'll just kind of get them out of the way. The first is graphically. Again, these are nitpicks. There's not anything too crazy bad about the game. It's definitely a must-play game. But I truthfully, if there is a difference in graphics between now and 2018, it's not major. I do wish, it's not, God of War's fault. It's not like they're the ones that have made it like this. But I wish that games were fully commit to the PS5 and not make PS4 versions and just, I'm sorry, people that have PS4s, but, get a PS5, accept the future. So I don't know if that's the reason, that they haven't increased the graphics too much, because they fucking, are forced to kind of stick with the PS4 fucking dynamics and fucking making sure you can play on the PS4 and shit. But there's not a huge difference. And again, if you saw my God of War review, it's not like God of War 2018 has bad graphics, as I always say. Graphics in 2018 and 2017 and on are great. And God of War was definitely, above its time back then. But, after 4 years of a difference, I was hoping, to see something different, especially on a new console. I was really hoping I'd see fucking extra special. And unfortunately, like I said, graphics are still good, but they are not, Horizon Forbidden West good. And again, Horizon Forbidden West even as well fucking still had to make a PS4 version of itself. But there's just places it could have been smoothed around the edges. Again, great graphics, great game, looks fantastic. 2018 one looks good too. They could have made it a PS5 game and made it, just kind of, because that's what God of War is known for. God of War, no matter when you played it, was it God of War 1, 2, or 3, they always like, when they came out, it was like, wow, these are the best graphics of the time. And now it's like, yeah, these are great graphics, but they didn't blow my mind, which is what God of War typically used to be known for. They used to be known for kind of being like, wow, how did they do that? How did they create these graphics so many other studios can't seem to do? And that's a bummer. But again, minor complaint. Another minor complaint, and this kind of goes in with the complaints of God of War 2018 with his character fucking enemy selection. They have, of course, added more enemies, so I'm not gonna say it's like before where you just fight the same troll over and over again. They do have definitely more enemies. But I don't know. That's the thing. They they have tried so hard to kind of go into like I said, the Last of Us type of mindset that and steer kind of away from the kind of the God of War original mindset, that I feel like they're missing what kind of made it so awesome and grand, which is like the fact that you're a god killer. And obviously you still hunt gods and shit, but the thing that was dope as fuck about the original God of Wars, and the reason it was so fucking awesome, is because every time you got to a boss or something of that nature, it was something fucking dope. Like you start off God of War 2 fucking fighting like a giant fucking possessed like statue, like the kind of like the fucking Statue of Liberty almost in size, where you have to take down. And like God of War 1, obviously leads to the killing of God of War, but as the God of War goes, like the lower level people were like mythological heroes, like fucking Achilles and fucking like people like that. And then fucking obviously as the games got on, you got to the climax, you started mowing down just all the Greek gods, Hercules, fucking Hades, Poseidon, until you get the big bag, which was Zeus. And I don't know if it's because fucking obviously nowadays Viking mythology is a lot more famous. Back then no one fucking knew shit about Viking mythology. Greek mythology was what everyone knew. But but now a lot of people know a lot more with the show Vikings and Assassin's Creed Valhalla and the first God of War and all that shit. But fucking with that being said, like they're just not as cool. Like you typically don't fight. Like I don't know. I'm not as all I know is from what I've seen in this game. So it's not like I know a large amount about it. But they're instead of every time you get to like a cool new boss, like even like kind of like how the first God of War 2018, you fight Thor's sons. Like that was kind of like a good starting point, but that was like all you fought was them and Boulder basically, right? Like typical God of War fashion, we should mow down through every fucking Viking god one by one by one by one by one. That's what we should do. And that you don't do that, and I miss that. I miss when the grandness of it. They need to bring that back. The Boulder fight was an awesome fight in the beginning of God of War 2018. And it should have just kept adding on. And like I said, maybe don't start off with the gods. Do what you did in God of War, where you start with just like Viking heroes, fight Ragnar Lothbrok. I don't know, shit like that, and then get to a point eventually where fucking you fight fucking the big gods one by one, and if that takes till God of War 3, whatever, in 2030, like so be it. But that's how they should have done it. So that's what I'm saying. That's where the enemy problems take place. Is the fact that like God of War is known for grand fucking fights, and not just hasn't fully given that. So where are we at? Graphics, similar to 2018's. Fucking, you don't mow through gods and legendary heroes like you did the original one, which is a shame. I mean, I think those are like my biggest gripes, guys. I mean, like I said, they're not giant things, but they're things that, like, if if any way possible they can hear this, the creators of this, and make those adjustments, I would appreciate it. Because it's nice that they, have focused so strongly on the story, which is the positives, of course. It is a fantastic story. That was, like I said, they were scared, you could tell before, to fucking, to make that transition. It was having that identity crisis of going from what they were to going to like a Last of Us style game. And, it still had hints of its previous, button smashing, but, they were trying to make it obviously more modern. And luckily they've figured out what they want to be, and they've gone all in, doing what Last of Us 2 did, but better. And like I said, you can see me playing as Atreus. And the first thing I played Atreus, I was pissed. I was like, I do not want to play as Atreus. Like, that fucking sucks. But now playing as him, I feel like it's awesome. At first you get mad, thinking, I don't want to fucking, like, what if this is a predecessor of things to come, that they'll fucking get rid of Kratos one day, because obviously he's getting old, and then, you have to be Atreus from now on. Like, he's not Kratos. But they made him a pretty cool character, you know. Obviously, he still kind of looks like a bitch, but obviously, in the future, if they make him hulking and like God of War stats like Hercules, getting that makeover, then fucking that'll fix that. But his power sets are so different and such a contrast to Kratos, where he's really heavily bow focused, but like with magic. But of course, he can turn his bow into like a hitting weapon for close range. He can shape shift. As in, like, Fury of the Gods, instead of Kratos, who just turns really mad and punches people really strong, he turns into, animals, which is an awesome type of power to have at your disposal when you change. I really hate what they've done with Kratos and his Fury of the Gods, and the fact that he just socks people with red. Now, they have added a few different versions of Fury of the Gods to this game, but there's really only one big one that's different that is better. So, Atreus actually is a positive. I do like Atreus' stories and what he does. I think that's a great addition to the game. I like when you play it. I like when you side stories. The open world does feel a little bit lackluster. It feels like a distraction. I like how it kind of elongates the game, but I feel like it. I don't know. They could have done a little bit better with it, but overall, again, is this game is there a question of, is this game for you? Should you even play it? Are you a person that only plays multiplayers? So you're wondering if this is the game that you should finally play or should put it down? Yes, I don't care who you are. If you hate single player games, if you hate gods, if you hate fucking Vikings, if you hate Viking mythology, play this game. It's great. The story's amazing. I haven't been this captivated, with watching like 2 hours of a story in a long time. Just from the very get-go. I'm interested to see how these people are going to react and what they're going to talk about. They do a great job of showing, Kratos with different people. So he's not he's screaming at boy and asking him not to bother him with his business. He's actually opens up every now and then. You hear his opinions on things that happen in the original games. It's nice to hear that and see that part of him. But it also still kind of is a bummer, because you want to see that, sometimes that rage monster, you do want to see both instead of just a grumpy father or whatnot. So, that's the biggest thing. But the story is amazing. I am a person who I no matter what game it is, I'm always listening to a podcast or watching something on the side, as I play it. I'm usually never fully tacked in. And that's with every game. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter how much story it is, Yakuza, whatever it is. I'm usually focused on other things. This is the first game I've played in probably the past 3 years where I literally haven't listened to anything in the podcast on the back end, because I can't, because I'm so focused on fucking the story. Like, literally, like, they've done such a good job at keeping story elements always happening. And even where you are in a bit of a place where like you're walking around in open world, just doing open world shit, they always keep characters, in a very quick succession, saying something to each other and adding on to the backstory and this character development constantly, where you can never even just be like, well, I'm gonna fucking go do an open world thing for 30 minutes. So I'll just watch a show for 30 minutes on the side while do it. Nope, they're always talking about something. You always need to hear what they're talking about, and it's shit you want to hear about their relationship. So there's not many games that have done that. It's really impressive to hold some of my attention, especially for that long. So this game is like I said, if you're not a person that likes fucking story modes and you only like fucking playing multiplayers, and you're like, oh, your friend told you, you're like, oh, should I play? Yes. If you play this game, without a doubt, you will enjoy the story, you will enjoy the game. The combat is complex. They definitely have added it, and I'm fit where I'm going to have to sit there like, fuck, man, there's so many things I can do. What should I do? And I guess that is my last actual thing that I dislike as well. They do give you a lot of things to use, but there's stuff like you get like so many light attacks before you get any heavy attacks you can switch through. But I think it's stupid. There's just like the pacing of how you get stuff is kind of annoying. That's also a little bit of a gripe as well. But yeah, if no matter who you are, you'll enjoy this game. Again, the real question is, should you wait? to buy it for $10 or something, or should you buy it full price? That's a tough one. I think this is a full price game. There's not many games I think are full price where you should just go out and get it. This is one I agree that you should just go out, take it in the ass and fucking pay $70 or whatever and get the game. But if you do have this stamina to wait, typically God of War is something that once it goes down in price, it goes down hard. Unfortunately, which is good for some, but just weird because it's such a great game. Like God of War 2018, you find probably pretty cheap. $20 maybe at most, at its highest peak, because there's not that much playback value. If you kind of beat it, it's kind of done. But I think it's worth playing. Maybe wait till it's 40. In like a month. Christmas or something. But I think this is a full price game. It's worth playing. The reviews are true. Like I said, the graphics could be better. And it could try to live up to some of the god battles that it had in its original 3 trilogy. But even without that, the story and heart behind it's so good. It's just a must play for anybody. So I know I'm just kind of saying what people have already said about it. I know it doesn't have too much, but I hope I gave a little bit of nuance to why it's good. And some things that, like I said, if the developers over here, maybe they'll fucking take it to heart and be like, yeah, maybe we'll throw in a few more fucking, like Viking legends to fucking kill. Because again, that was the reason we came into it, man. And then when we killed, miniature gods or legends, and that thought they were badass, and then eventually you lead yourself up to just taking down all of Olympus, that's what we were in for. And now, unfortunately, we have a great, father-son story that takes place, with Viking gods, but it's not the same. It's not the same overall, right? I feel like if they could add both, truly that would be perfection. I guess another last gripe, now I'm just also thinking about it, is the character designs. I remember the way that fucking they designed like Zeus and fucking not Ares. Ares was like shit, but like Zeus, for example, Zeus in God of War was like the coolest way I can imagine Zeus to look. Like there were so many designs that they made of gods that I was like, that's sick as fuck. Like that's a dope ass fucking way. Like that's how Greek gods should look. And like Thor, how he looks in this, like I understand they're probably trying to be accurate to like how he probably would look or whatever. But obviously, like when you think of Thor nowadays, you think of Thor from like the Marvel, and so like. And that's kind of like what Zeus was. Like Zeus in the original God of War, like was like this sick ass, badass fucking Zeus character. So typically, to continue that tradition, they should make like Thor like a badass, kick ass, even doper than Thor looking Thor. Like, in Thor and like Love and Thunder, if you've seen it, where fucking he has like that big ass dope armor. It should be that like times 10, like we're just like all out, thunderclouds are and all shit, But instead he's like some kind of like fat fucking Viking guy that is just like their god development models used to be like super dope looking, and now they're maybe more accurate, but fucking not as just like dope as fuck to look at, which is also a thing that I feel like they've lost from the original. I just hope that if they do make a God of War 3 one day, that they can attribute giant, grandiose scale battles like they used to, because you have just like the Boulder fight, just because you have fucking Kratos fighting a man who is a god, if that battle is just them punching each other, maybe flying in the air or punching harder than normal, like it's cool, but it's not what it used to be. You used to fight fucking Zeus changing into a giant warrior throwing like lightning at you, or fucking a statue, or fucking Hercules having gauntlets on his thing, or fucking Hades turning into giant and throwing hooks at you. Like they used to have godly powers, not just be strong as fuck. Like yeah, Thor has a hammer can throw at you, but it's just ain't the same. And again, that's just a minor gripe. That obviously the story takes back, but it'd be great if they could add both of those in and connect it. Anyways, that's it on my review for God of War Ragnarok. Go out and get it. Later, guys.